Okay, this is going to finish up the collection update that we started last night, and it's going to be just these 16 titles for this particular video. I should be able to get through all of them fairly quick because there's just 16 of them. The titles I have off to the side here, we'll go more in depth on tomorrow during the daytime when it's not 8:30 at night, because there's a lot over here. And I think a good portion of these I have seen and have a bit to say about them. But let's go ahead and get started with these titles that I showed just a second ago. Up first, we have Knowing with Nicolas Cage. And this one is about Nicolas Cage's character finding um, a coded message. Here, I'll just read what it says on the back here. Nicolas Cage from National Treasure stars in this edge-of-your-seat sci-fi thriller as John Costler, a professor who deciphers a coded message with terrifyingly accurate predictions about every major world disaster. Looking to protect his family and prevent future calamities, he enlists the reluctant help of Diana Wayland, played by Rose Byrne, uh, daughter of the now deceased author of the prophecies. His quest to understand the messages and his own family's involvement in them becomes a heart-pounding race against time as he faces the ultimate disaster. Um, and said ultimate disaster is global destruction. You can kind of see some city skyline, probably New York, because a lot of movies tend to like to destroy New York for some reason. Being destroyed in what looks like a giant explosion of some sort right there. Up next, the only of the Krampus movies I've seen, because I have 1 and 5, and that's Krampus 1. I have seen this one, actually, and it's a pretty good Christmas horror movie. PG-13, not very common for horror. Um, and do I recognize anyone in this? No, I do not. Okay, then. So I don't recognize any of the names on the back of the thing, but yeah, okay. So we're gonna move on then, because I don't recognize any of those names. No point in lingering on it. Up next is Krampus 5: The Reckoning. I think there's 8 of these in total, maybe 10. I think I only left spaces for 2, 3, and 4, and I think I want to say 6 and 7, maybe 8 if there's 8. But if there's more than 8, I didn't leave spaces for all 10, or all 9, or however many. I just left 8 spaces. I don't recognize any of the cast members in this one either. This one doesn't have any rating information on it. It says it's 89 minutes in color and horror, with widescreen. But it doesn't say anywhere on here, at least not that I can see. Maybe you guys can spot a rating somewhere, but I don't think this one has a rating on it per se. Krampus is looking pretty creepy there. Same with this picture here. Anyway, I'm not going to spend all night trying to find a rating on that if there doesn't seem to be one. Next up is a M. Night Shyamalan movie with Paul Giamatti and Bryce Dallas Howard called Lady in the Water. If I'm remembering correctly, I think Bryce Dallas Howard's character is like a mermaid or something. So she can't be a water nymph, essentially a mermaid, basically. Yeah, why do I have this with the horror movies? Oh, because it's PG-13 for, quote, some frightening sequences. that would be enough for me to call it a horror movie, I suppose. So yeah, do I recognize anyone else other than those two that's in here? It doesn't seem to. Wait, no, I don't. Okay, well, here's this one. Good movie. I did like it. I just only recognize the two characters listed at the top of the screen, or top of the title case there. Up next, we have Lake Placid and Lake Placid 2 right here in the same case. Do I recognize any of the cast from these? Oh, come on. I want to say there was a familiar face in the first one that I was more or less just aware of. Dang. I guess not. John Snyder from the Dukes of Hazzard in Smallville. Jonathan Camden, one of the Duke boys, is in the second one. I should know which one he was. I want to say Bo Duke. Anyway, he's in the second one, and this is the only name on the second cast for the second one I recognize. I want to say, I want to say Betty White was in the original at one point, but I don't know for 100% fact that is the case. Anyway, here's the back of the case for this in the front. Then I got a 4-movie collection of Lake Placid 4, 5, 6, and 7. And I believe in the correct order for these is it goes Lake Placid 3 versus Anaconda, Final Chapter, and then Legacy. I know for a fact Legacy is 6. When in doubt, look at the release year. Oh wait, let's see. 3, Last or Final Chapter, versus Anaconda, Legacy. My bad. Do I recognize any of the cast members for any of these ones? Not for number 3. What about number 4? Robert Englund is in the 4th one. Freddy Krueger himself, the OG. He's also in 5, the versus Anaconda one. And in 6, I don't recognize any of those names on there. Okay. Next up. Up next, we have The Last Exorcism, Part 1. Do I recognize any of the cast members here? I do not. But I'm pretty sure that this is the same girl in the sequel. Right here. I think she's in the sequel as well. But it's the latter half of her story. This one's PG-13. The second one I have an unrated version of, but I imagine it'd probably be in line with PG-13 as well. Oh wow, that looks creepy. Contortionist. Anyway, I'll read the premise on part 1 and not on part 2. The girl that plays the lead character in this, Nell Swetzer, is played by Ashley Bell. It says on the second one here. I'll point that out a little closer when we show that in a second. After years of allocating money from desperate believers, charismatic preacher Reverend Cotton Marcus decides to reveal his fraudulence by documenting one last exorcism performed on another disturbed religious fanatic. But after he and a film crew arrive at the Swetzer farm, Marcus encounters a horrific scene beyond his wildest imaginings. a blood-drenched farmhouse with a teenaged girl held in the grip of true evil. Now Marcus must find a way to save the girl and stop the terror, or die trying. So, here we go. And here's part 2 here. And it says right there, Ashley Bell plays Nell Sweetser. You know what? I may as well just read this other blurb so you get the full gist of both parts here. Nell Sweetser is back in the relative safety of civilization and sent to live in a group home where she's encouraged to leave her past behind and start a new life. Just as Nell settles in, she is tormented by the seductive demonic presence that once possessed her. She realizes that the evil force is back with unimaginably horrific plans, which could only mean that her last exorcism was just the beginning. And do I recognize any of the additional cast members in this one? I do not, just her returning from part 1. So here's the back of that. I know I already showed the front of it a couple times. Up next is, I've seen the theatrical cut of this one, but I have a Blu-ray and a DVD that both have an unrated and theatrical version. And that is Last House on the Left. I believe this is a remake version from 2008. Yeah. Renowned horror director Wes Craven returns to the scene of one of the most notorious thrillers of all time in this darkly disturbing reimagining of The Last House on the Left. After kidnapping and ruthlessly assaulting 2 teen girls, a sadistic killer and his gang unknowingly find shelter from a storm at the home of one of the victim's parents. 2 ordinary people who will go to increasingly gruesome extremes to get revenge, loaded with shocking twists guaranteed to leave you on edge. It's an ominous film critics call one of the best horror remakes ever made, and that is from Scott Weinberg from FearNet.com. So here's the back of the case here and the front. Up next, we have Vin Diesel in The Last Witch Hunter. Michael Caine is also in this with him, and so is Elijah Wood from Lord of the Rings. He played Frodo Baggins. Of course, Michael Caine has appeared alongside the Muppets in Muppet Christmas Carol, and he was also Alfred in the Dark Knight trilogy. And I know I've watched this one before, but I don't really remember much about it. So yeah, Last Witch Hunter starring Vin Diesel. And second to last, up here we have The Last Voyage of the Demeter. And this is a really good Dracula movie, where Dracula actually looks like a monster. Because before watching this, all the other times I had seen Dracula was either in Hotel Transylvania or in the Universal Classic Monsters collection, unless you count Blade Trinity theatrical and extended cuts, because Dracula is also in that, and he does have quite the extensive monster mode in that as well. But this was the first like Dracula story that I saw that had him look like an actual monster. And that's him right there, and on the back here with his wings spread out. And who was in this one? I feel like there was a familiar face in this one though. Nope, guess not. Okay. I will, however, be reading a little blurb here. It says, a terrifying new addition to the Dracula legend, based on a single chilling chapter from Bram Stoker's graphic novel, The Last Voyage of the Demeter. The Last Voyage of the Demeter chronicles the doomed journey of a merchant ship ferrying 50 mysterious wooden crates from Carpathia to London. As they set sail, the crew soon discover they are not alone on board. At night, they are stalked by a hidden passenger whose monstrous thirst for blood turns the trip into a harrowing nightmare of tension, terror, and unfathomable evil. I think this is an underrated Dracula movie, honestly. It's very, very good. Rated R for bloody violence, and just shy of 2 hours. It's an hour 59. Wow. Okay. They couldn't stretch for one extra minute to make it 2 hours. Okay then. Well, last up for this video we have Leave. Her story started at the grave. So here's this, and here's the back. I think it's the same under the slipcover. No familiar names in this one, but I'll go ahead and read the little blurb here. It says, an abandoned infant is found in a cemetery in the United States. The child is wrapped in a blanket with satanic symbols. A wolf's cross pendant hangs around her neck. 20 years later, Hunter is obsessed with finding out why she was abandoned and who her biological parents are. A genetic test, the blanket of the wolf's cross, led her to Norway. Hunter is closing in on the terrifying truth, but visions of a dark figure warn her, leave. Shudder original, that makes sense. Shudder makes a lot of halfway decent to really good horror movies. And I'm not sure which category this falls in under, but it's 107 minutes. Not rated, but I feel like a lot of the Shudder original movies are technically not rated. But once I watch it, I might do a review on it the next day or something, or watch it during the day and do a review of it afterwards, because that way I can say whether or not, oh, this one would be fine as a PG-13, or no, this one would definitely be R. I'm not sure where this one would fall. So, all right. Anyway, that's it for this video for tonight. A bit of a shorter collection update, but that's okay. I'll have a nice long one for you guys. Oops. I'll have a nice long one for you guys tomorrow. There's 4 virtually the same size stacks. And we'll be able to knock out a whole bunch in case 3 in hopefully very little time, because there's a 50 movie pack horror classics here with a bunch of black and white horror movies, and I think I've only seen one of them, the 1920s silent film Phantom of the Opera variant. So, anyway, I know for a fact I've seen that because I watched that version of Phantom of the Opera on YouTube once, and the reason I put air quotes on it is because at the end there's full on like singing opera and lyrics, and I think a few spoken lines, so it's not silent from beginning to end with music and like little pop-up blurbs like, oh, this person is saying this type thing. It is like that for most of the movie, but at the end there is very much like vocal stuff in there, like talking and opera singing and whatnot. So anyway, it's not 100% silent is what I'm trying to say. There we go. But yeah, we'll get into those tomorrow. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Good night.